All right, we'll bring our panelists in for discussion today. We're pleased to have the Director of Membership Development for the Project 21 Black Leadership Network, that is Donna Jackson, and trial attorney and radio host Barack Lurie, and former Governor of Wisconsin Scott Walker. Panelists, welcome and thank you for coming on here. A lot to talk about, including the primaries. We'll get to that in a moment here. But Governor, if I could start with you here, we know gas prices. Everyone watching right now is feeling it. The national average for regular gas, as you know, is $4.60, according to AAA. Record-breaking here, and it's even higher in other places, by the way. And diesel sitting at $5.55 for the truckers and boaters out there. So they're feeling it as well. And then you have the president saying we're in the middle of this incredible transition. Did Americans not have a choice, by the way, in this incredible transition?
No, and this is just another example of Joe Biden not being up to the job. There is an incredible transition going on. It's from voters who in 2020 maybe thought they didn't want any more mean tweets, are now moving away, transitioning away from Joe Biden, realizing this guy's an incompetent fool. He's making gaffe after gaffe, and it's not just about his own political future or that of his party. It's hurting the American people at the gas pump. It's hurting when the families can't get baby formula. It's hurting when food prices are too high. And I think you're going to see the first of a transition this November when liberals go down in flames because this president and his allies just don't get it.
Yeah, you've got to think, Donna, that voters are keeping in mind a number of issues as they head to the polls, including how much it actually costs for them to drive to their polling locations.
Absolutely. You know, there are people who are actually having to quit their jobs or get second jobs because they can't afford to fill up their gas tanks. The average family, there's a study that the average family uses about 1,000 gallons of gas a year. You have people now that are paying more than an extra $3,000 a year for gas. If you look at low-income families, they're paying more for gas than they are for their rent, a higher percentage. And this administration did this on purpose. He promised us that he would end fossil fuel, and he's doing everything to actively do that.
Barack Lurie, your thoughts on that? And again, that incredible transition, that's where we are. Does that sit well with the American people? And then also, is that really, is that an unrealistic expectation at this moment? We don't even have electric cars to hand out to everyone at this point. And even if we did, can Americans even afford to have them? Plus, not to mention the country and the electrical grid to even power these things up. I mean, the list goes on. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I think that it does not sit well with the American people whatsoever. They realize that this is a huge new sea change in the way that they're paying prices. And just like Donna was mentioning, this is changing everything in the way that we approach our jobs and the traveling and so on. And look, the fact is that Biden has this habit of speaking the quiet part out loud, where they have an agenda. This agenda is to get rid of fossil fuels, and they are succeeding in making and strangling the American consumer in terms of the consumer gas consumption. And this is exactly what they're trying to do. And I think, like the good governor has mentioned before, this will be punished in November very seriously.
All right, before we get to November, we got to make it through the primaries. We previewed this earlier, and we're going to talk more about it throughout the show. So we can just be brief kind of in our predictions for today. Governor Walker, what state are you looking out for the most? Which race perhaps piques your interest the most?
Well, I think it's Georgia. You're going to talk about that some more, but that's a huge race for President Trump. I think he probably made a misjudgment on that case because Governor Kemp's got a pretty strong conservative record, and it appears as though that's going to bring him home to a primary victory.
Donna, what are you watching out for?
You know what? To be honest with you, all of the races are important, but we have conservatives that are now more conservative that realize that they can't just compromise with the liberal left and be a viable candidate. So I think in all races, it's a good thing because whether you're establishment or not, you're more conservative today than you were 3 years ago.
All right, we got to leave it right there. Barack, we'll get to you. No worries.